So let's just skip right past all the formalities, and I'm going to assume you already read the title, so you already know what this video is about. I'm going to be covering some shotgun strings, the ability to cancel certain moves with Devil Trigger, and I'm also going to be covering the ability to chain all your firearms together. Something that seems to kind of go right past people. They don't seem to know that this is a thing. So, first off, the shotgun. There's a lot more to this firearm than just firing. You really don't need any of these special strings. They're there just for style, and they have a ton of recovery. They don't do any more damage than an ordinary shot. They have the tendency of whiffing, especially on knockdown opponents, except for the last string. Pretty much all of these strings, except for maybe one, is pretty much worthless. It's just there if you want to look cool. So, first one is what I guess you could call the Cartwheel Shot. Again, all of these are unlisted. They don't have names. So I'm just going to go with whatever first comes to mind. So for the sake of categorizing and organizing, I'll just call this the Cartwheel Shot. For all these strings, you have to hold lock on. And after holding lock on, for each swing, there is one shotgun string. So I'll explain what I mean. So swing once and fire. Timing's a bit odd. So I'll double tap for each of these. All it is just swing once, and then fire, and you get the Cartwheel Shot. Swing twice. You get fireworks. Swing 3 times, and you get this odd spin shot thing. Anyone who's played Marvel Infinite will actually recognize this as his crouching heavy kick, and this is where it came from, is that spin shot. So again, for the Cartwheel Shot, swing once, fire. For fireworks, swing twice, and fire. And then for the spin shot, swing 3 times and then fire. Again, there's really nothing special about any of these. They're just there for style. That's all it is. There's nothing to it. It's just another way of firing your gun. And you'd think like, oh, well, you know, fireworks would be good for crowd control. It's not. Something kind of odd about fireworks here, too, is that the first shot will actually hit in front of Dante. I don't remember that being a thing. I know it kind of hits to the side in the other games, but it hits in front of him. Pretty interesting. Actually, both shots do. What do you know? All these shots are equivalent in damage to a regular shotgun shot. It's no different. It's just an extension to your base, your primary string with any of the swords. So that's it for shotgun strings. The next thing I want to go over is the ability to cancel moves using air raid. Now you're going to notice here that usually when I play this game, whether it's on stream or in a video, I usually have aerial heart on. And the reason for that is because it allows you to cancel out of a bunch of different moves. And in a game where so many moves has so much recovery, this is kind of invaluable to have. It's also great because it can cancel your knockdown or knockback animations. Again, just reducing the amount of time that you spend on the ground or getting hit, etc., etc. DT and aerial heart is incredibly useful. Basically, it means you're always going to have a chance to play. It's almost always going to be your turn to play if you have Devil Trigger. It's great, you know, being able to play your game. So that's a really nice workaround for recovery in this game. So one of the first moves that I'll go over, or list off, that can be cancelled with Air Raid is Helmet Breaker. Basically, at any point during Helmet Breaker, except for when it hits, you can cancel into Air Raid. And this is pretty much, this cancel is going to be, it's going to look the same for everything, but I'll just list them all off here as they go, or as I go down the list. Next one is Stinger. Again, if it hits, you're not going to cancel out of it, you're just going to enter DT, and you're going to get the elemental property of the heart that you have on your amulet. So it has to be canceled before the hit actually connects, and that's the case with all of these sword-based strings. That's an exception for a few others. Next one is high time. Again, this one's a lot more lenient. You can hit the opponent or the enemy with your sword and still cancel into air raid, and then you can chain that into round trip, cancel out of it, and then go into helmet breaker. It opens up a lot of options for combos. Well, not a lot, but for DMC2, that's quite a bit. You can also cancel your rolls and your evades with air raid. This is usually how I get into air raid. It's a lot better than getting into DT, wasting it, and then pushing jump to get into your flight. It's just a lot faster, and of course it's a really safe option because you get the iframes from the roll, and you also get into air raid. I already went over the fact that you can cancel knockdown or knockback animations. That kind of speaks for itself, and I can't show that off here because I don't have enemies. That also applies to any grab-based attacks that enemies have. So, like, let's say the Phantom, or in Lucia's case, if Arius, in his Argosax form, manages to grab you, instead of having them deplete your health in its entirety, or trying to mash to evade damage, or to avoid damage, rather, you can just Devil Trigger to get out of it. Again, it's incredibly useful to have. Let me actually use my save state here, so I can fill up my DT again. Another thing is that DT can cancel all firearm animations. So you can see there, I'm using that. I actually did fire my shot, but I canceled it before it even came out. Same with MP5s. And I already shot shotgun. Now, you're probably wondering, can this be used for the shotgun strings? And yes, it absolutely can. Whoops. Cancel that a little too early, but you get the point. It's just this is an actual, like, practical thing that you can use. And I use it pretty frequently when I play this. Literally, all it boils down to is having the aerial heart to cancel into DT. That's it. There's no jump cancel involved. Dante doesn't have any jump cancels in this game. The only person who does is Trish, and they're a different kind of jump cancel. But I'll go over that when I get to Trish. But that's air raid and the aerial heart in a nutshell. There's not a lot I can say about this. With the series of videos that I plan to make, I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea here. This game isn't really deep. It still is pretty bad. There's not a lot that can be done, but there is some stuff. However, this game's depth, you could argue that it's pretty much superficial. It looks like there's a lot, but there really isn't a lot you can do with what's there. Last thing I'll cover here is the ability to chain between all your firearms. I'm just going to hold down square for all this. You notice it's canceling into itself. This also applies to the air. It's literally just switch canceling from the other games. It's exactly the same thing. You can do this in the air. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Just either holding or mashing, and then pushing L2 to cycle. You should know that when you're attacking, you cannot cycle through your weapons for whatever reason. I thought I should add that. That's kind of important. It always seemed like a bug, but now it actually looks a little more intentional. But yeah, that's all there is to it. I guess I'll leave everyone to screw around and explore with the different options and things that can be done with aerial hearts and air raid now. I wish there's more I could say. I would have liked to have made this video a little more informative, but unfortunately it seems as though the most informative or lengthy video I could make was the Majin Dante overview, because nobody really knows about that. But here there's really nothing special. It just, all it is just activating DT during the startup animation of different tacks. So, you know, there's not a lot I can say. But that's all I have for the shotgun, and that's all I have for air raid as well. So hopefully you learned something. I'll be covering next, after this video, I'll be covering DT strings, because for every string that Dante has with his sword, there is also a DT variant. And I'll cover those and how you can sort of interchange them and chain them together between DT and non-DT base chains. It's sort of interesting. There's some stuff you can do with it. But anyways, that's all I have for you, and I'll see you all in the next video.